What's happening? Speierg coming at you guys with an audio commentary for WCReplays.com. And of course, this commentary is copyrighted by WCReplays.com, so whatever you do, don't copy it, steal it, redistribute it, or do anything otherwise illegal, or else, of course, we will be forced to sick the hounds of death upon you, and you don't want that. Hey guys, I am excited about being able to bring some audio commentaries your way, and I would love to take just a second and introduce myself to you. Some of you guys may have heard some of my commentaries in the member audio commentary forum, where I've done several over the last year or so. But for many of you guys, this will be the first time you've heard from me. My name is Speierg, as I said before, and the race that I have played primarily is human. I understand and have decent knowledge of the other races, but I certainly understand humans the best, and most of my commentaries will be from the human perspective. However, rest assured, for those of you that don't play human and don't care to try them, I will always try to, in my commentaries, include some things that are basic to Warcraft and in terms of being applicable to all races. I want you to pause this game at the 30-second mark, and we'll get into it here in just a second. I'll set it up for you. Hey, let's get this thing unpaused and get on with the good stuff, alright? So, unpausing in 3, 2, 1, unpause. So this is taking place on Phantom Grove. Collapse, as I will refer to him throughout this game, is spawning at the bottom of the map, and his opponent is spawning at the top of the map. And what you are going to see is a fairly standard opening from both players. Nothing too out of the ordinary, kind of an altar, barracks, farm type of a deal. And the thing that you will see in just a minute that is a little bit different that Collapse is going to do is, instead of going with the typical water elemental and trying to creep as fast as possible using the water elemental, Collapse is going to take Blizzard instead, and he is immediately going to pop out of the altar with his Arch Mage and charge straight up to his opponent's base, and he's going to attempt to do a little bit of Blizzard harassment. Now, we'll take a look at that Blizzard harassment and whether or not it is effective in just a couple of minutes. But you're going to see here he does scout with a militia. He's going to take a look over there a little ways to his left, and he will eventually build a farm over in that direction for scouting purposes. And so he will eliminate that one position in terms of trying to locate his enemy, so that when his Archmage pops out, he will head straight to the position immediately counterclockwise from him, thinking that, hey, I've now got a 50-50 chance of stumbling upon his base right out of the gate here. And of course he'll discover very quickly that that is not where his opponent is. He's actually all the way up to the north, but he'll get there eventually, and we'll take a look at what he does in terms of Blizzard harassment. And in some ways the slight delay in getting there isn't a big deal, because it gives his opponent a little time to get a little bit further away from his base, which makes his harassment that much easier. So in the meantime, he's popping out a couple of footmen. He's not really doing much with them at this point, because there's not a whole lot you can do with them right straight out of the gate. And he's going to eventually build 2 towers in his base, and you will see how that really becomes important a little bit later. As soon as an Orc player sees that you have selected Blizzard with your first skill, one thing that they might do, particularly if it's a smaller map, they might come right after you at that point, knowing that you don't have the water elementals to support your army early on, and they might think, hey, a couple of grunts, Farseer with wolves, he doesn't have any summons, I can go in there and do some real damage right now. That is a possibility. You might bump into that, but here we go. He's going to start to Blizzard harass the peasants. Now, you're going to notice he's not going to kill a single peasant. And you might think, well, gosh, well, that was horribly ineffective. He burned up a lot of mana. He even took a little bit of damage from the burrowed peons, and he didn't get a single kill. But I'm going to point out to you in just a minute that that is not necessarily the only goal in this type of harassment. So bear with me for 1 second here. We're going to pause the game in 3, 2, 1, pause. Now, if you take a look at the 2 gold mines, first for the Orc player, you click on his gold mine, you see 10,610 gold is left. You look at the human players, 10,450 gold is left. in a couple more seconds, you'll notice the Orc player is not mining gold at all right now. He's got a bunch of his peons burrowed up, and the rest of them he's kind of moved over to wood. And when we unpause here in just a few seconds, you'll see that that continues to be the case for a little while. So unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Yeah, the Orc player is busy with creeping and doing other things, and so still, for quite some time here, he does not get back to mining. Now he's finally getting back to mining, but you'll notice he now has another problem. He's now got like all of his peons on his gold mine, and he's going to have to sort that out, which he will do in just a few seconds. But if, again, you look at the count on his gold mine right now, he's at about 10,450 right now, whereas you click down here, 10,150 for collapse. Well, that's a 300 gold advantage that he just earned. And I'll talk about that more in just one second. But as you look down in the lower right-hand corner of the map, you're going to see that Collapse is using 3 defended footmen, and he's going to use Blizzard to creep out this red camp. And that is going to give him a ton of experience, and it's going to help him to level up his Archmage really fast. He can do this because there are so many creeps here at this camp that do piercing damage. And with all that piercing damage, man, I mean, those footmen with Defend can stand up to those things forever. And so he just kind of uses Blizzard to take out all those creeps in the back, uses the footmen to focus on the one creep in the front that does normal damage, and hey, he's going to get a nice tome of EXP, and he's going to pick up a whole lot of experience. This is part of the strategy here. That was another reason why he was doing some of that Blizzard harassment. It's just to buy time. If you're going to go Blizz first and use defended footmen to creep really fast on this map, you really can't do a whole lot when your Archmage first pops out, so you might as well go harass his base. And you know, he gained a 300 gold advantage there, which is, hey man, it might not seem like much initially, but that's 1.5 grunts, or maybe later in the game that's a healing scroll that could make a huge difference in a battle, or whatever. I mean, it could add up to a number of different things depending on how you look at it. So he will continue to creep. He's going to take some damage on these defended footmen, but again, here's another creep camp where, you know, a lot of the damage is piercing damage, so you focus down on that one wolf in the front. You don't worry too much about all the guys in the back, because they're all going to die to your Blizzard. And now you go clean up whoever's left over after that's all said and done. And so already he is 3 2/3 level-wise. You know, he's almost to level 4 by the time he kills this last troll here. And his opponent, who is now heading for his base, is only 2.5. So he's gained a full level advantage on his primary hero. And he's gone ahead and picked up a Tinker as his second hero, and you will see what the point of that is in just a little while here. But now the Orc players is going to come in and going to try and wreak a little havoc on him. Well, here's where you're going to see that these 2 towers that he built are really going to help him out a little bit. It's just enough damage with those towers that it's going to create a little bit of a problem for the Orc. And yes, Collapse is going to lose. He lost 2 footmen, and he's also going to lose a couple of peasants. But those towers are going to do enough damage that while he is kind of gathering his troops together a little bit, he walks in here, he forgets to take a defend off of a couple of those footmen, so they're a little slow to get back. But, you know, that Farseer's taking enough damage now, and this one grunt has been softened up to the point where he's able to kill it by those towers. So the towers really did pay off there. That's why you get 1 arcane and 1 guard tower. That'll do plenty of damage. It'll take care of the summons of the Farseer with the arcane doing its thing, and the guard tower doing its thing. So he's able to kind of fend off that initial attack without sustaining too much damage. Now you go back to that 300 gold mining advantage that he gained earlier. Well, that, you know, kind of pays for those 2 footmen that he just lost, and then some. Maybe even 2 footmen and 1 of his peasants that he just lost. So those kind of things really do make a difference. Now at this point, obviously he's at tier 2. He's got 1 sanctum up, and he is going to very soon be expanding to that first gold mine that he crept out. That's a place that it's probably your opponent's not going to expect you to expand there. You're able to creep that out pretty early on because you've gone with this mass area of effect strategy. And so he's probably not going to be scouting there quite as quickly as he might be looking at other gold mines that you would more typically use for your expansion. So again, take a look at hero levels here. His Archmage is already hit level 4. The Tinker's still at level 1. He's about halfway to level 2. You look at his opponent, and his Tauren Chieftain is still not gained any experience, and his Farseer has just barely hit level 3. So he's got a full level on his primary hero and a little bit of a head start with his Tinker. And that is really a very key part of the strategy, because think about it. If you're going to go with a mass area of effect strategy, most of your damage output is going to be coming from your heroes. So if you have a significant hero level advantage, that makes a huge difference. So you're going to see a little skirmish here, and he'll use Rockets and Blizzard to great effect to cause the Farseer to be very low in health, and he'll have to run off. And he does a nice little job here of just barely microing his hero. I mean, he had 5 hit points left on that Tinker when he got him out of there. But he's able to save that Tinker, and that's a big deal, especially when, like I said, your heroes are the key to this strategy. And he'll use another Blizzard here, and he's going to damage that Grunt pretty well, and he's going to take a little bit of damage, but then look here. What happens here is that the Farseer comes back into play, and Collapse sees an opportunity, and bam, Blizzard kills the Farseer, and then he TPs out. So he was able to get out of there without really taking too terribly much damage. Now, he is down a little bit in the population count. He is at 38 food, while his opponent is now at 44, and now at 49 because he just bought his Farseer back at the tavern in the center of the map. So he's at a slight disadvantage there in terms of population count. But that's all going to even out in just a few minutes. Now, the Orc player also got up a pretty quick expansion, so Collapse does not have quite the economic advantage that he would like to have at this point in the game, but he is going to get a very significant hero advantage, and that is going to make up for what he lacks in terms of an economic advantage right now, and what he lacks in terms of the size of his army that he doesn't have because he's working without the summons that you would typically have with the water elementals. So anyhow, more Blizzard creeping here. And in fact, actually not Blizzard creeping this time. He's going to use the Tinker to come in here and creep this camp. He's going to keep his Arch Mage back so that he can level up his Tinker as quickly as possible. His Arch Mage is already at level 4, and at this point you really want to get the Tinker up to level 3 as quickly as possible. That's going to allow you to either get level 2 Rockets or level 2 Factory, depending on which one you need. And that really will depend upon what strategy and what units your opponent is getting. If your opponents are getting, a whole bunch of low hit point units that might cluster together, like Headhunters or Shaman, for example, you might want to go level 2 Rockets because you're going to be able to really take them out with that area of effect. Otherwise, you probably get the level 2 Pocket Factory, and you'll see why that Pocket Factory comes into play here in just a few minutes. So he will lose a footman here to the creeps, and you don't ever really want to do that, but at this stage of the game, he has 2 Sanctums that are just cranking out casters, and that's really going to be the main part of his army. That and rifles that are now coming out because he is expecting his opponent to begin maybe building some kind of a counter to his caster, which might be Wyverns being mixed into his army, and in fact that is the case here. You're going to see that LK Mao will begin to build a couple of Wyverns or Wind Riders, whatever you want to call them. Again, you look at the Orc player, his hero levels, his Farseer is just a little above level 3 at the moment. The Torrent Chieftain is still level 1. He is doing a little bit of creeping here, and he will try and catch up a bit, but he's really being outclassed level-wise right now by his opponent, Collapse.